If you heard the news at the top of the hour, I just want to be clear that the shirt I'm wearing is for above-average Mike Sanders from WCW. It's Wrestling Observer Live. It's Jim Valley. It is Saturday, and we're here live each and every week, 7 days a week, as a matter of fact. Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern, 2 Pacific. Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. And Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Well, happy Leap Day. Or, I guess it's Merry Leap Day. I saw on Twitter. I don't know how this works, but here's what does work. Today, we're going to talk about the Fiend. Yes, the poor, poor Fiend. The poor, poor, pitiful Fiend. They should make that a song. He's been so buried by the WWE. So buried, in fact, he got to be featured on the last segment of just the biggest SmackDown of the year, challenging John Cena to a match at WrestleMania. Can you imagine having to face the biggest wrestling star in the world, not named Dwayne? Buried. I feel so bad for him. Hey, could we set up a GoFundMe for the Fiend? Maybe one of those late-night infomercials? You know, for just the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can support this poor, pitiful Fiend and his Firefly Funhouse. How much is coffee, by the way? $5? Oh, screw that crap. Plus, huge pay-per-view today. Tex Ferguson taking on Chad Too Bad. Big Bartholomew and Mr. McElroy. And Lethal Leap Year is finally here. Wait, what? I'm being told that Southpaw Regional Wrestling is fake. No. We prefer the term predetermined in wrestling. Wait, what? Oh, the actual pay-per-view is AEW Revolution. We will preview that. Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley. Kenny Omega, Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks. Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. And what will Orange Cassidy do tonight? I want your thoughts on that. Is it worth the price? Will you be buying it? Yes or no, and why? We'll talk about that. Tweet me at Jim Valley, and we'll take your calls. 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live. Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Wrestling Observer Live. Jim Valley, 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529, live Monday through Friday. You know it, you love it. 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. And Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. You can hear it on your local affiliate. You can hear it streamed on Sports Byline's website, WrestlingObserver.com. And thanks to a tweet today, I learned you can also stream it if you are in Illinois at the Heartland Newsfeed. On their network as well. They have been a Sports Byline affiliate since they launched on New Year's Eve 2018. So I appreciate that. You can go to heartlandnewsfeed.com for more information. So thank you for that. So many ways to listen to it. It's remarkable, the scope and the platform that Sports Byline has, and thus this show has. And I really appreciate all of the interaction and all of it. It's been a really great experience. And now, in typical Jim Valley fashion, it's time to ruin that. We need to talk about false equivalency in pro wrestling. Repeat after me. The Fiend is not buried. He lost on a show that was shown in the U.S. in the middle of the day. Do you know what that means? Dozens of people turned off Wendy Williams and all of their Judge Court TV shows to see The Fiend lose the title on the WWE Network. The same WWE Network with less than 1 million subscribers and dropping. News this morning, SmackDown last night had its biggest rating of 2020 because of the return of John Cena. How many people do you think actually watched Super Showdown? Well, it's less than 1 million. So let's go from there. 500,000? 250,000 versus 2.7 million people Friday night who saw The Fiend challenge John Cena to a feature match at WrestleMania. 2.5 to 3 million versus less than 1 million. The biggest SmackDown rating of the year versus Super Showdown, a show so important, so significant, that WWE took about 3 seconds to come up with a name. Super Showdown. That's the name you named your pay-per-view with your wrestling figures when you were 8 years old. It's not the same thing. Also, WWE, did they show any replays of The Fiend losing to Goldberg? No, they didn't? That should tell you something. I understand. WWE has buried a lot of people and killed a lot of careers over the years. The Fiend is not one of them. WWE has invested a lot of money into this character. Tom Savini designed the Fiend mask. A Hollywood legend does not come cheap. WWE isn't going to back out when it's invested so much money into this character. And either way, the Fiend's title reign wasn't working. You know this. But when the Fiend loses to Goldberg at Super Showdown in the middle of the day, at Super Showdown for Super Shut-Ins, suddenly everybody is a Fiend fanatic. Oh my gosh, so many people, OG Fiend fans. Why, I've been a fan of the Fiend since day one. You know, last April. But with today being leap year, that's one extra day of my Fiend fandom. So, step off. The Fiend is the opponent for WWE's biggest star that WWE can get into a ring this year. A star of the next Fast and Furious movie, a mainstream star who's done commercials, who's been in blockbuster movies, who's acted with Tina Fey and Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. We should all be so lucky to be buried like the Fiend. Now, talk to me after WrestleMania if there's an issue with the match booking, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, the Fiend is fine. Now let's talk about Goldberg. Or Oldsberg, 53 years old. And this age thing has been a topic of conversation since probably the NWO politics of WCW, and this message has gotten lost. People have gotten lost just repeating this age thing. The age issue has been repeated so many times that you've lost sight of the real point. The real point isn't necessarily age. We're all living longer. Understand that. AJ Styles is still great, and he's in his mid-40s, but we'll come back to this. The issue in WCW was that the old guard protected their spots to make money for themselves to the detriment of the wrestling business as a whole. It's not about the age of any wrestler, it's about control. Those guys could have been 10 or 15 years younger. It doesn't matter. It just so happened that they were older and people gravitated to that. It's not wrong, but to focus strictly on a wrestler's age is to ignore the real cause. It was about the age of the NWO storyline, and the NWO storyline running its course. The age of the storyline and the dynamic on the air. That's the issue. The age of any performer, when we're talking about this, is irrelevant. And here's the other thing. Those guys had a hand and influence in what you saw on television. Goldberg is not booking WWE. And Bill Goldberg, for whatever faults he has, is not an idiot. He would be a fool to turn down perhaps millions of dollars for himself and his family. If you want to boo him and you don't like it, please have at it. I'm not telling you anything about that. But if he is the personification of your frustrations of the WWE product, I get that. Old guys and part-timers are not the problem. The problem is that WWE thinks it's bigger than it is. Now understand, WWE is a big, big deal. I'm not saying that. It's a worldwide platform that helped launch the biggest star in the world, who also happens to be the most likable, charismatic person on the planet. And then they launched nobody else. The problem is that for over 20 years, WWE management has decided that very few people are worthy of this impressive worldwide platform. And we, the fans, have picked up on this message. And understand, there have been many times where WWE has been right to deny these people the throne. Some people are not worthy. But there have to have been more than just John Cena and Roman Reigns. Speaking of Roman Reigns, was Roman Reigns buried when Seth Rollins won the world title after Roman's match with Brock at WrestleMania? Was Roman Reigns buried when he was losing and out of the title picture? Of course not. Do you not think for a second that WWE does not see this reaction to The Fiend losing? How many cards with its booking deck does WWE play these days? About 3. There's winning outright, winning out of nowhere, and losing to gain fan sympathy. You tell me which one is happening right now. One more thing. Everyone on Twitter is sharing this tweet, apparently from Bray Wyatt's tattoo artist. I don't know. That's what people say. But he's tweeting something to the effect about WWE burying people. To which Bray Wyatt responded on Twitter with a simple, yes. I don't know him. But Bray Wyatt, I'm positive, is not an idiot. He's the son of Mike Rotunda. Mike Rotunda, IRS. Captain Mike Rotunda, the greatest NWA TV champion of all time. Yes, I said that. Mike Rotunda, who is so respected he works backstage in WWE. Mike Rotunda, the son-in-law of Blackjack Mulligan. Call me crazy, but I have a feeling that the son of the very respected Mike Rotunda and the grandson of one of the most legendary characters and wrestlers of all time, Blackjack Mulligan, might know a thing or two about wrestling. He's grown up in it. Bray Wyatt knows more about wrestling than you and me. And he's not going to tweet something that's going to hurt his WrestleMania payoff. And at this moment in time, I believe this is storyline and I believe this is a work. It's feeding into this narrative to gain pity and sympathy to build up the Fiend character. Think about it. If I'm wrong, I'm going to have a fantastic crow buffet after WrestleMania. And I'll eat it, and you can dunk on me all you want. You don't have to believe me. Keep watching, pay attention, see for yourself. Give me your thoughts, 1-800-878-PLAY, or tweet me at Jim Valley, and we'll also talk AEW and the Revolution pay-per-view coming up. Wrestling Observer Live, Jim Valley, Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Wrestling Observer Live, Jim Valley, Saturdays, 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. You want to talk about The Fiend? You want to talk about Goldberg? You want to talk about John Cena? Or do you want to talk about AEW? AEW Revolution pay-per-view tonight. If you look online, and for a lot of subscribers of the Wrestling Observer, AEW has been killing it with its television shows. Just weeks now of outstanding shows, and many of the shows, as we've talked about, have not had these huge payoffs. But they've done great storytelling, and it's going to be curious to see if that storytelling pays off in pay-per-view buys, because they've been right around 100,000 buys, plus or minus, maybe slipping a little bit. And this is going to be a fascinating experiment if allegedly great television, I think universally accepted to be great television, will increase the buys with today's modern wrestling fan buying a pay-per-view at $50 or $60 or whatever it is a pop. Your thoughts on that and more at 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. Let's go to Tim in Miami. Tim, what's on your mind today?
Hey, what's up, Jim? You asked if we were going to buy the show tonight, and my answer is absolutely. I love the way that they've built this. I love the way that the stories have unfolded in a very traditional, logical, consistent, traditional wrestling manner that hasn't left me confused or feeling like an idiot. You know, I've kind of been on the ride watching this play out, and I think it's been really effective. And in fact, I mean, if this show doesn't do a good number, like, I don't know what to tell you. They've put on great TV. They've told great stories. If this thing doesn't do well in converting the TV audience to pay-per-view buys, I will have no explanation. But I do have a bold prediction. I think this is bold. I think Jon Moxley's leaving there with the title tonight, because I think when you've got a character who's hot, you got to capitalize on it. You're better to be too early than too late in that situation. And I also think for them it's an opportunity to see, you know, what kind of impact a title change has on the TV rating. Does a babyface champion maybe lift the number from the 800,000-900,000 people that they've been? So my bold prediction, Jon Moxley will be your AEW champion.
One quick question, Tim. If by chance your prediction is wrong, do you anticipate any sort of fan backlash?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people are expecting Jericho to keep it. I think a lot of people are saying, well, it's too soon, you know, to take the title off Jericho, because he really has been, you know, the most compelling thing on their TV. But again, for the reasons I outlined, I would completely pull the trigger right tonight.
Tim in Miami, I appreciate the call at 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. What do you think of that? Do you have predictions for AEW Revolution tonight? And also, I'm very curious. Buying a full-price pay-per-view, is it worth it to you still? The challenge with AEW right now is that it's still new and it has its own style and method of storytelling that is still unfolding. It's hard to determine any patterns. It's hard to determine direction right now, especially when you've got Luke Harper coming in and Lance Archer, Jeff Cobb. There's a lot of new talent that's going to be fluctuating that's going to be circulating into AEW. And what effect will that have on the future of the promotion and the booking? And here's the other thing. A lot of people try to apply WWE booking to AEW, and they could not be more wrong. So keep that in mind. Try to keep an open mind. I don't know how old Tim is, 30s, 40s, what have you, but it was fascinating to hear him say the old-fashioned, old-school booking. And that's one of the things I don't get with some of the backlash of AEW. Yes, I know, Orange Cassidy. Yes, I know, Flippy, Meltzer driver, blah, 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 blah. Every wrestling has that these days. Every wrestling has ironic comedy. Every wrestling has more inventive moves, shall we say. And if you don't like AEW, I'm fine with that. And if you want to call up and say that, the floor is open. 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. I just don't get a lot of it. It's like it's not some weird space wrestling. And the booking is very episodic. And they've done some great stuff with a lot of throwbacks and nods to the past. And speaking of people who aren't idiots, Chris Jericho's not an idiot. Cody Rhodes isn't an idiot. There's some of the backlash. I mean, no wrestling is for everybody. And most wrestling is for nobody. But I like that line. But I watch it and I'm like, I feel like people are missing out on this product because it does great episodic television. And maybe the ratings aren't there yet, and maybe they never will be. But I feel like Slow and Steady has a chance to win this race. And if they keep building up trust, it may take years. For example, I go on YouTube and you'll see, some popular web series and you'll just go, I don't know. I don't want to watch that. And over time, maybe finally you'll click on it and you'll go, oh, okay, I see why this is kind of popular. And maybe you'll enjoy it. I feel like sometimes it just takes time. And this is no guarantee that this will happen. But if they keep doing this, maybe at some point there'll be an angle, there'll be a celebrity, there'll be some touchstone in time that they will have had all of this cachet of fan trust, and it will build up, and it could explode. Not saying it will. I'm just saying I think that's got to be the strategy, that they just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and building this one block at a time. AEW Revolution. Okay. I know you want predictions. I suck at predictions. I am okay at best. So I will give you some predictions, but understand that I know they may not be great, so I'm just doing this because it's an expectation. But we'll do that in a second. Let's go to the phone lines at 1-800-878-PLAY. Let's go to Tim in Chicago. Tim, what's on your mind?
Hey, Jim. Nice to finally talk to you. As far as predictions for Revolution, part of me says that when you look at traditional pro wrestling booking of how you're building up a babyface, what they're doing with Jon Moxley says to me that it's going to be the crowning of Jon Moxley, because he's had the obstacles in front of him. He's overcome heinous injuries, kayfabe injuries, and it signals to me that they're going to put the title on him. However, I was always under the impression, just my gut was always, that Jericho was going to hold the title until he was ready to ride off into the sunset. And that's due to AEW's long-term booking. They've been running this angle where he's demanding a thank you from everybody in AEW. And in my head, I always fantasy booked that when Jericho was ready to leave, after he built up stars, and then the company was on solid footing, that he would drop the title and the crowd starts chanting, "Thank you, Jericho." The locker room empties out onto the stage and everybody's chanting, Thank you, Jericho.
Do you think that'll happen tonight? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's where I'm conflicted, because that's how I always kind of envisioned it. But the way that they're building up Moxley, traditionally, this would be when you would crown him the champion, the way that they've built this up.
Interesting. I appreciate the call, Tim. Thank you so much. 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. We've had Tim in Miami. We've had Tim in Chicago. If there's a Tim in Boston or a Tim in San Diego, you can call, or you don't even have to be named Tim, but you can call 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. 2 out of 2 Tims like Wrestling Observer Live on Saturdays. Or you can tweet me at Jim Valley, but you have to have Tim in your Twitter handle. I don't know that tonight is the end of Chris Jericho. That seems awfully soon. Whether he loses the title or not, I don't see him wrapping up. There's a lot of work that still has to be done. And I see Chris Jericho as a very steadying force and a leader. And it's way too soon for him to not be in the promotion, whether he loses the title or not. At this moment in time, and this is hard to say, I don't see Chris Jericho losing tonight. I would see Jon Moxley probably spinning off with somebody who's coming in, Luke Harper, or they could do something from New Japan dealing with Lance Archer. You know, they had a match at Wrestle Kingdom. There could be something there, and I'm not saying it's the best idea and it's the best way to go, but I could see that happening. I hate the name AEW Revolution. It is so generic. It's second to Super Showdown. I don't see this being a crowning pay-per-view for AEW. I see Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, and I also see All Out being their big premier events. Certainly things could happen tonight, but I don't see this as some sort of big denouement or finale, for everybody in AEW. So I expect Chris Jericho to somehow retain the title. But again, my predictions, not always great. I'll be very honest about that. The other match, Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. Nyla Rose has gotten more consistent, and I hope she continues to be consistent in her matches. Again, it feels very early for that to happen. I don't know how, but I would expect Chris Statlander to not walk out with the title. Cody and MJF. We'll talk about that. Also, Omega and Page against the Young Bucks. And Orange Cassidy. This is what I want you to talk about. What does Orange Cassidy do tonight? Does he actually have a match in front of the AEW crowd for a while? Or does he just put the hands up and down in the pockets? You give me the slight thumbs up or the slight thumbs down. You let me know, just like Tony Schiavone. Wrestling Observer Live, Jim Valley, 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529, to tweet me at Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline, Broadcasting Network. Saturday edition, Wrestling Observer Live with Jim Valley. We are live each and every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Tomorrow, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. And Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Hey, I do the Portland WrestleCast for subscribers at WrestlingObserver.com. And you may have heard Northwest legend Rip Oliver is in hospice right now. And we did a show about Rip and his career in the Northwest. So if you grew up watching Rip, it's a nice, fun jaunt down memory lane while Rip the Crippler is still with us. And if you didn't, if you just know Rip from his time in WWF, it's a great way to get a background. It's a 1-hour conversation or so, plus or minus, with myself and fan and historian Rich Patterson. And give it a listen. It's absolutely free. Just go to WrestlingObserver.com. You don't need to be a subscriber, but check it out. And all the best to Rip Oliver and his family in Florida. 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Let's go to the phones again. Jim in New Jersey. What do you got for me, Jim?
Hey, how you doing, Jim? I'm doing pretty good. You asked a question going into break if fans would buy pay-per-view, if this is the day and age to still buy pay-per-view. Yes, it is. I still believe that, pay-per-view sells, and especially with the AEW card. I've been an AEW follower even before it was AEW, with the independents, all these guys over in New Japan. And what they are building, slow and steady, is perfect. And I'm excited for this card tonight. I bought it. I have BR Live, Fight TV so you can get all this stuff. And I'm just looking forward to the pay-per-view tonight. I can't wait for it.
Okay. Who's walking out tonight? What's your favorite match and what's your prediction?
One of my favorite matches tonight is the tag team title match, Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I have a feeling the Bucks are going to win the title because just the way they've been building Page to just turn, and the promo, the Revolution promo right after AEW on Wednesday, just like has that seed set that Page is going to do something and then cost Omega and him the belts, and the Bucks are going to win the belts.
A lot of people think that Kenny Omega is going to be the one turning heel because Page is so popular right now. Do you see that?
I feel like it's the other way. But I guess that's because just the way they've been building it, like Page doesn't want anything to do with the Elite, and all those guys are still the Elite, and you could see that on the Being the Elite pod with the show on YouTube. So I think it's Page that turns on.
Jim, fantastic call. Call back anytime. I love your passion. I love your knowledge. Thank you so much. 1-800-87...
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime. 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. Here's the thing, is I know a lot of people are, again, kind of applying WWE booking to AEW, and people are expecting the Swerve. Not Swerve. He's in NXT, and he's awesome. But they're expecting the Swerve where Hangman Page now has begotten so much fan reaction at the arenas that they think Kenny Omega's going to turn, and I guess it's possible. And maybe the fans will just make that happen themselves. But I feel like Kenny Omega winning the Iron Man match against Pac, I feel like he's heating up now. And that's why I question whether or not Jon Moxley is going to win. Because I feel like you can spin Moxley off in another feud and he'll be fine. Maybe not great. Maybe there'll be some backlash, but I think he'll be fine. And maybe we're going to build to Las Vegas, one of their more signature pay-per-views, and we're eventually going to get the Kenny Omega coronation. That's what I'm looking at. And also, Darby Allin. Sure seems like they're heating up Darby Allin. Darby Allin with his flamethrower, burning an effigy of Chris Jericho? Maybe Darby Allin gets a little challenge. Maybe not necessarily on pay-per-view, but maybe he gets built up to a great performance. A losing one, but a great performance against Jericho. And then we're off to Kenny Omega. That's my thought. But again, I could be completely wrong. But that's what I'm seeing. And if you want to disagree, please help me out here. 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Or tweet me at Jim Valley. Hey, we got a tweet here. A very good one, as a matter of fact. From David. And he says, isn't the idea of Orange Cassidy having a big 20-minute work rate kind of match the antithesis of Orange Cassidy? If that's what you're expecting, haven't you kind of missed the point? He may try, but he won't unless absolutely provoked. Fantastic point. That's the big question. Which Orange Cassidy is this? If you saw, I know a lot of people, because it's Brian, they showed clips of Brian Alvarez working his match with Orange Cassidy, but that wasn't the whole match with the goofy spots. Part of the match was actual wrestling and Brian pushing Orange Cassidy to try to get him to wrestle, and it happened to a degree. Go find the whole match. Now, Orange Cassidy has wrestled on the indies as Orange Cassidy sometimes. So, we haven't seen that yet in AEW. Is tonight the night we see that aspect? Or maybe we will never see that aspect in AEW. Maybe he's always just going to do hands in pockets and the slight thumbs up. That's a question, but it has happened before. He has wrestled. And maybe it's just going to be Pac beating him up. Maybe it's going to be somebody coming to Orange Cassidy's rescue. Or maybe Orange Cassidy's actually going to try. It's a fascinating question. And it's one of those things. Is that worth buying the pay-per-view for you? 1-800-878-PLAY, 1-800-878-7529. Let me say this. If you don't like AEW, do not buy the pay-per-view. If you don't have a lot of money right now, don't buy the pay-per-view. If you support AEW and you want it to succeed, think about buying the pay-per-view. That's what needs to happen. tweeting about stuff and getting it trending, that's great. But that's not going to necessarily help the promotion as well. What helps the promotion or any wrestling is spending money. So if you like The Fiend, go spend money on The Fiend. If you like Orange Cassidy, go spend money on Orange Cassidy. If you like AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor, if you like Ring of Honor, go buy tickets to Ring of Honor. Spend what you can in your budget, whatever it is, to support that wrestling to keep it around. And especially right now, we did a 90 minutes with Dave Meltzer for subscribers at WrestlingObserver.com a couple of days ago, talking about the issue with the coronavirus and how so many shows are being canceled in Japan. And whether you believe that this is an epidemic or not is irrelevant. What we're talking about is the money and the income that affects companies, particularly the smaller companies in Japan. And not to stereotype, but many wrestlers historically are not great with their money. And that's not funny. That's sad. So understand that support these wrestlers and your favorites as best you can. Don't overextend. Don't go into debt. If you need to take a pause because you've got more important things to pay for, please do that. But support these things. There's more to life than just tweets and trending and getting out on social media. It's also about spending money. I also think that AEW is redefining what these big shows are because they're building to just a few a year. So you're going to get more clean finishes. You're going to get more resolutions. You're not going to get the same 3 matches like WWE. First match, schmoz. Second match, some sort of gimmick match based off the schmoz that happened in the first match. And then finally the third show where we get some sort of ending and then we're off to the next 3 matches. AEW is redefining, he's trying to make its own legacy. And you can't always apply WWE logic to what AEW is doing. So pay attention to the stories, pay attention to what they're doing. I mean, I'm not, because I'm terrible at this, but do that because it's different. And if you don't like it, no problem. We can still get along. It's just wrestling. And that's another thing. For me personally on Twitter, I'm not going to fight with you on Twitter. Okay? We can talk about it. We can have discussions. You can ask my opinion. But I ain't going to fight with you. I'm not into that. So I just want to make that clear. Too many people are like engaging me and I'm just like, dude, don't do that. Don't. It's just wrestling. Let's just talk about it. Wrestling's fun. Love me some wrestling. But there are more important things in life like family and friends. So you want to talk about wrestling, no problem, but go take your fake Twitter feuds to somebody else because that is not my thing. So I didn't mean to bring that up, but that's true. I'm going to get the pay-per-view tonight. I am excited. I think all of these talent are going to be very, very motivated. SCU and Dark Order looks like a backdrop for more of the Exalted One storyline. Maybe Christopher Daniels teasing something, perhaps. Maybe a tease of who might be coming. Dustin Rhodes and Jake Hager. I think Hager needs a strong performance. He's stood there for a long time. I think when he first came in, people were anticipating that he was going to show us something, and it's not bad that he hasn't, but it's just he's just standing there. He's going to need to show something tonight. Win or lose, he's going to have to show something, I think, to win fans over as a heel or a babyface, that he's there for a reason and WWE dropped the ball on him. Pac and Orange Cassidy, what does it look like when Orange Cassidy tries? And if Orange Cassidy does try, does that ruin his gimmick? And again, Orange Cassidy on the indies, not the same as Orange Cassidy perhaps in AEW. Intriguing. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. Is Sammy Guevara still injured? I don't know. But I feel like Darby Allin is heating up. And maybe he'll do a longer feud with Sammy Guevara, perhaps. And Sammy Guevara is going to be fine. He's a star of the future. He's fine. He can win. He can lose. It doesn't matter. He's fine. But Darby Allin, it's remarkable. When I first saw him here in the Northwest for Defy Wrestling, I was like, oh, he's really got something. But wow, he's so small. I mean, really small. And it's like, are fans going to accept him? And they have. And it's awesome. Cody and MJF, I would think MJF needs something tonight. Probably a lot of interference, but it'll be compelling. And then Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, the Young Bucks. Young Bucks have got so many opponents, and the Young Bucks are main event stars. Too many people try to make the correlation that AEW's tag division is the same as WWE's tag division, and it's not. Because the Young Bucks have sold tickets, and the Young Bucks have sold a ton of merchandise, and they are game changers. And when the Young Bucks are in a division, it's a main event division. And the Young Bucks have done a great job with Proud and Powerful. They've done a great job with Private Party. They've done a great job with so many other people. And they win the tag team titles, and somebody's going to be off to the races. It's going to be exciting. Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander again. I would anticipate Nyla Rose holds on to the title, and I'm glad she's getting more consistent, and I'm glad that she's a beast on television. A couple of weeks ago when she was on Dark doing commentary, she was like herself, and she sounded cool, don't get me wrong. She sounded like I would love to just sit and watch TV with her. She was kind of funny and cool, but that's not the beast, and now she's the beast. And that's much more consistent with the character. Hopefully she can keep going down this path. And Jericho and Moxley, I think Jericho retains. But we'll see. We'll find out tonight. And you can tweet me at Jim Valley. Let me know what your thoughts are. And, we might have a call. Maybe we might have time for a couple more calls. Real quick, 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline, Broadcasting Network. Real quick about Orange Cassidy. One of the compelling things about AEW booking is that you think to yourself, like with Orange Cassidy, what is going to happen when these two forces come into the ring? As opposed to WWE, when you think, okay, who does management like best? You're actually thinking about the match. Okay, Orange Cassidy, he's a slacker. He doesn't try. Is he going to try tonight? And Pac is super serious. He's the bastard Pac. He's not going to put up with this crap. What happens? And what about this? What if Pac just opens up and just beats down Orange Cassidy? And he doesn't fight back. And he doesn't fight back. And the crowd is just begging Orange Cassidy to fight back. What if he does fight back then? Does he get a big pop? And what if it doesn't happen tonight? What if he keeps getting killed and getting killed and getting killed? And then finally, after the crowd begs for so long, Orange Cassidy finally fights back. Or maybe someone's just going to come and save him and he never fights in AEW because that would kill the gimmick and that would hurt the novelty. Or does it hurt the novelty? Would you think different? Would Orange Cassidy be less entertaining if he actually did some real wrestling moves and actually had a little bit of credibility? Is he then not funny anymore? Is he then not ironic? It's a fascinating dynamic to think about as opposed to, well, who does management like best? A little microcosm of the differences between the booking, in my opinion. Follow me on Twitter, @JimValley, and we will talk to you next time whenever I'm on Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline, Broadcasting Network.